Dear friends, once again it is Commander Sudhir Kumar on my YouTube channel Pulse Beat of India. Tomorrow we are going to have the 10th budget by the present government and it is going to be put up on 1st Feb. Let's see that where India has reached, how is the economic condition of India and various inputs. First of all, let me say that whatever was put up in last year budget, that is that how much is going to be debt to GDP ratio is definitely under the same. It is near about 62 to 63% of GDP and it is manageable. And in amount, it was seen that it should be near about 12.6 lakh crore, or it must be near about $450 billion. That is also, and the another component is then the external borrowing and internal borrowings are in what percentage. It is near about internal borrowings are near about 47% and external borrowings are near about 42 43%. And how we are doing the servicing of this interest what we have bought from outside is also perfectly under the managed condition. So three inputs that are debt to GDP ratio is under control. Second, fiscal deficit and current account deficit is also on predicted lines, and definitely it is under very much under control. And the third thing is inflation. It has been seen that inflation, in spite of pandemic, in spite of it that there were for certain time that the productivity was going down in negative, still the recession was not there, and the recovery in India has been very positive, and the entire world is looking towards India because just see what confidence people are having, investors are having in Indian economy, that our foreign direct investment have gone up near about 640 billion US dollars, and another, like in terms of FOIs, the foreign indirect investments FIIs also is pretty good. With this, we have to see that what people are looking for this year budget. My predictions are that today everyone is looking that education, especially the education has gone digitally, the same way all those are the skills in this new paradigm shift which has taken place globally, and the kind of in turmoil which is there in this yucca world, that is seen that there'll be a need of skilling, there'll be need of reskilling again and again under the changing skill areas globally. That's what I feel, that certain incentives to the educational institutions or edutech companies or skill domain areas has to be thought of by government of India, because what happens, the students physically have not are not being coming to the campus, and fee domain I think is not the same what was there pre-pandemic even this year, though most of the universities, colleges, and schools have switched over very decently towards digitalization, and it has been a boom for digital transformation in India. And in pandemic, we have done very well. If you look the digital payments using UPI, that is also very good unified interface which has been used by the payment, and near about a billion transactions those are taking place in India every month. Is also the penetration of internet up to rural areas certainly is increased, so is the internet connectivity on the fiber optic links has increased by Geo, as well as under BharatNet. That is also a very, very rosy picture as far as India digital transformation is concerned. And as I said, due to all these things, that the investors' confidence in India has increased, and India is the only country which is the fast emerging economy, and we are the only one those have done very well during pandemic. And if you look at that, the IMF projections for our GDP this year had been near about 9 8.5 to 9%, and for the next year also it has been predicted at 9%. If you look at USA and China, China has gone down to 5%, and USA has been pipped near about 4.5%. So this is the scenario I am giving to the audience, that what I am speaking. Let's come back to what are the expectations from the budget. As I said, that the educational institutions and the companies those are providing skilling, or the institutions those are providing skilling and reskilling, certainly are looking for certain incentives, and it will be really good that some PLI based scheme as has been started for the manufacturing production linked incentive. The same way, if these skilling and reskilling and certain educational platforms are doing well to address mass scale, then certainly it is the incentive given to them will definitely be good. But we have to see that whether the reskilling is enhancing the employment or the job creation. Startup, coming to the job creation, sorry, the startup history in India during pandemic has been amazing, unprecedented, and they have done remarkably well. 41 unicorn have come up in India, which is definitely a third place, and we India has become a ecosystem for a startup globally, and we stand at near about third place. So this is one area. Secondly, coming to the investment, government has been doing huge amount of investment in infrastructure, and when government puts huge investment into infrastructure, certainly for the revival of economy, so that some activity is going on in some projects, and where the jobs are given, and if the projects get delayed, if the projects are not creating the quality and resilient assets, its effect is there on the economy, and it is being seen that this government has created huge amount of infrastructure, whether you take the highways, ports, creating new IITs, creating IIMs, and same way the medical colleges, AIMS in all the states. So that has had been, and it is paying well. The third thing is that this investment pursuit should be continued, and it has to now penetrate into rural areas, whether certain kind of incentives are given for the FPOs, or rural based industries have come up. MSME also penetrates into rural areas, so that the spending gets into the income coming into the hands of people. Those have now migrated from urban areas to rural areas. So that's what my anticipation is. The government is going to be looking for it. Now, coming to the Kisan, I feel the Kisan Nidhi, which has been given by the Prime Minister, it must be concentrated now only to the small farmers. As we know, India is having near about 80 to 83% farmers. Those are having less than 15 bighas of land, or less than 2 hectares of land, or 3 acres of land. So concentration should be there, and these small kisans must be given an incentive of at least 15,000 rupees per annum, and if you want to increase this Kisan Nidhi to other farmers, then up to 4 acre, it could be given 10,000 rupees. But more than 4 acres, it must not be given. And if government wants to feel considerate, then go up to 6 acres of land, and it may be the same 10,000 rupees. But more than 30 bighas of land or 6 acres of land, this Kisan Nidhi not to be given. However, the Kisans, the small farmers again, right from 2 hectare to 4 hectares, must be given certain incentives in electricity bill concession or subsidies on khad, manures must continue in the same way on chemicals, and that must be a priority areas to boost the income of small farmers which India is having now. And we have to see how the corporate farming, how the large farmers, those are having huge tract of lands, how they could be taxed. Because India is losing near about 55,000 crore rupees due to the concession given or the tax is not being charged on these big, huge, big farmers. Those are claiming income tax exemption on agriculture income, big farmers. Coming to now, the another thrust area which I feel is going to be the investment, and this investment has to be in such a way that the consumption in rural areas as well as among the poor people of urban, when enough employment opportunities are created, then they are being given certain amount of money, certain activities are happening like Manrega. Now if the Manrega Manrega amount is being increased, then certainly it will go in the hands of those are working in rural areas but creating certain assets. It must be essential. And today, everyone knows that every economist knows that if certain amount of an activity is there, it is going to create some employment for someone. Even I feel that if you are digging a pit and then you are closing that pit, that also creates an opportunity for work. But entire spending into the infrastructure creation or Manrega or any other social scheme must bring the quality assets. Now, the biggest thing is that the corruption. If in projects, in any kind of in projects where the huge spending is being done, the money should not get siphoned somewhere else. We have seen that the huge amount of loans, those were given to the corporate, they turned into NPAs. And this effect on economy was very catastrophic. The same way, like investment on infrastructure is very good, but we have to make sure that there is no corruption, the leakages of money should not get. That must be the top priority for the government. Now coming to that how to increase the revenue of government. Last year I think it was envisaged near about 37 to 38 lakh crore, and while borrowing was pegged at near about 12 lakh crore, it was manageable. Here, what happens that even if we are going to borrow more and somewhere the debt to GDP ratio is going to increase, again more money is going to be in hand, and there what happens if we make sure the long term borrowing and the short term borrowing are in such a fashion that we are able to service that debt, that there won't be any problem borrowing from external agencies, because nowadays in world market, whether by bilateral or by the global agencies like Asian Development Bank or IMF or World Bank, and even from the tri-party or multilateral agencies from different countries and the private institutions, is also at a very less percentage. When you are able to do this external borrowing at the less percentage, and if you are ensuring that it turns around into the increased percentage of development or productivity in your country, I think that bargain is very, very good. I am of the opinion always that the debt is not bad, but the debt to GDP ratio definitely be controlled. And along with that, we have to make sure that it is done in the short term and long term strategically, so that ever we are not having a problem that we are not able to service this debt. Now, after coming out from the farmers, we have to see to it that new education policy, which pays lot of emphasis on value based education, that must be ensured by the universities, colleges, everywhere, because today we have to invest very heavily towards our revival or renaissance of our culture. So these are the certain areas where we have to look for.